Oh my god!
Ow, Jesse, there
Yeah.
you are! Woo!
Hello everybody and welcome to Jesse's Drone Adventures. Today we come to you from the beautiful town of Seward, Alaska. I recently had the amazing opportunity to spend a little bit of time here, and throughout the rest of today's video, I'm going to take you on a boat tour, share with you a little bit of the wildlife that I captured, and tell you a little bit about the town. The boat tour that I went on was by Seward Ocean Excursions. They're a locally owned and family-run business that is open year-round. So if you ever find yourself in Seward, I would recommend doing a boat tour, and I'll link their website down in the description. After doing a quick head count and covering the essentials, our crew of 6 passengers set sail that day for a 3-hour tour. Well, actually it was 3.5, but in the song it's 3. Once we left port, it wasn't more than a few minutes before we started seeing wildlife.
Females often have a lot of scarring on their faces. Oh yeah, this animal does not care at all that we're here. Yeah, no rush to leave, just doing its thing. Oh baby.
The deeper into the bay we went, the more unbelievable the surroundings became. Something I've always admired about the state of Alaska is that its raw wilderness is virtually unbothered by human settlement, with its variety of landscapes from mountains, glaciers, tundra, and temperate rainforests, to its abundance of wildlife roaming throughout the sea and on land. And speaking of wildlife, we spotted some mountain goats relaxing on some rocks, and our captain was oh so generous enough to stop for a few minutes so we could snap some pictures. Now I tried to get some video, but the water was a little choppy, causing the footage to be extremely jerky, and it ended up looking like a poorly produced Blair Witch movie. But I was still able to get some great photos.
Aw, cuties. Seward, missing.
We continued on and made our way out in the direction of Bear Glacier, which is located within Kenai Fjords National Park. Now we weren't able to get super close to the glacier, but we were able to get pretty close to some icebergs. Random thought I had, it would have been pretty cool to break a chunk of ice off and put it in a cocktail for later. Now perhaps one of the best parts of the entire boat tour, which I wasn't expecting, was being able to stop in at one of the remote islands and wander around for a few minutes. We only had about 20 minutes before the boat came back, so I made sure I covered as much ground as I could. I really wish we would have had a little bit more time to walk around the island and do a little bit more exploring, but that's okay. I guess that just means we're going to have to come back in the springtime. Resurrection Bay is absolutely full of surprises. When we first departed, our captain told us to keep our eyes peeled because you never know what's going to pop out of the water and make a quick appearance. And sure enough, after being back on the boat for a few minutes, our captain spotted something in the water.
Man, they really can just kind of go any direction at any time.
Yeah. Good looking. Ow, Jesse, there
Yeah.
you are. Woo! Whoa. Jeez, amazing! Whoa!
Oh my god!
Oh my god.
The one time I just happened to look over there. Thank you.
Yeah, they're off my port side, headed straight for.
What we had spotted was a group of transient orcas in the bay. Transient meaning they tend to be larger than any other type of orca, live in smaller groups, and hunt marine mammals. They were extremely difficult to photograph and get video of because they would be underwater for a few minutes and then they would come up for air for only a few seconds. So when we did spot them, we had to be extremely quick on the trigger when it came to snapping photos. I quickly realized that I wasn't going to get the best shots, so I just put my camera down and enjoyed the experience, which is exactly what people at concerts should do. Once the boat tour had ended, I started driving around Seward to see if there was any additional locations where I could spot wildlife. And for those of you who have no idea where Seward is, it's located on the southern coast of Alaska, about 125 miles south of Anchorage. The town has a population of 2,800 people and is one of Alaska's oldest communities. According to cityofseward.us, it was founded in 1903 as the terminus of what is now the Alaska Railroad. And because the water around Seward doesn't freeze, it's long served as the gateway to the interior of Alaska. One thing I enjoyed and never got tired of the entire time I was here were those gorgeous views of the snow-capped mountains surrounding the town. It was a pretty fun experience to be able to get up in the morning and just wait for the sun to cast its light on the mountains. I totally regret not filming it, but it was such an enthralling experience to see the sunlight beam onto the top of the mountains and then slowly illuminate the rest of it as the sun continued to rise. It would have made for a great time lapse, but unfortunately, not this time.
There he goes.
The weather this time of day wasn't too bad, but going back and forth from mist to rain didn't exactly promote the best filming conditions, so I decided to call it a day and head back out there early the next morning. The best part about that was I ran into a gentleman at a gas station that told me about a location where he could pretty much guarantee me that I would see some otters, so that's where we headed next. Now, according to adgf.alaska.gov, adult sea otters may grow up to 5 feet in length. Males can weigh anywhere from 80 to 100 pounds, and females can weigh anywhere from 50 to 70 pounds. Sea otters can spend anywhere from 11 to 48% of their day just grooming themselves, and can have up to 1 million hairs per square inch on their body. It's also the densest fur coat of any animal in the world. Now here's something that blew my mind. Sea otters eat 25 to 30% of their body weight in food each day, and their diet consists of sea urchins, crabs, clams, mussels, octopus, and fish. Can you imagine eating 30% of your body weight in food each day? That's pretty incredible. And you have to remember, they spend most of their day in ice-cold water, so they need all the food that they can to keep a nice thick fur coat and maintain their insulation. I later found out that another good place to potentially see wildlife was at the harbor, but I'm gonna level with you. The only thing that I saw were some jellyfish. But it was still pretty fun to walk around the harbor and check out all the boats. A waiter at a restaurant even told me that there's a few people that live in these boats all year round. Now, that's no surprise to me, and it's pretty common in many harbors, but when you take into account that during the coldest months in Alaska, the temp can drop as low as negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 35 degrees Celsius, that's pretty f***ing ridiculous. I'm originally from Minnesota, so I'm no stranger to the cold, but living in a boat in a harbor in one of the coldest places in the United States year-round, you gotta be built differently. The Sea Life Center was quite enjoyable, and because I visited Alaska during the slower season, it wasn't too busy. And this is another place I would recommend stopping in at if you're in the area. Now, I did have my sights set on another location just outside of town, and it would have been a phenomenal place to fly my DJI Mini 4 Pro drone, but unfortunately, after I got out of the Sea Life Center, it started to sprinkle, and not too long after that, it started to rain. And because this was my last day here, I just decided to pack up my drone and head back to my hotel. Now, this crow wanted to say thank you for watching and click the next video on the screen to continue the fun. Next week, we should be back in Arizona.